everybody. This is Walter, back with another review for you. This time for a product that I was delightfully surprised to work with. It's the Donner DMK 25 Pro MIDI keyboard. And it's a MIDI controller keyboard. So it doesn't have any built-in sounds. But it's kind of cool because it's got a lot of nice features to it. And the thing about it is, you've got these MIDI keys on here. I thought at first, I said, that probably won't go over so good because, as you can see, my hand takes up over half of the keys on the keypad. But if you set this in front of your computer screen and you just need something to jot down your musical ideas with, something like this actually works pretty good. You can do, I guess, full-blown compositions depending on what you're doing. But these MIDI keys, I was surprised I was able to work with them as well as I could. Now, I'm not a keyboard player. I don't fancy myself as a musician, but nonetheless, works pretty good. And then you've got these nice keypads up here, the drum pads or trigger pads, because they'll do both. You can set them up to program them any kind of way you want. And you can do it right from the front panel with this handy little display. I know that displays are hard to see, but for instance, if I tap this pad softly, the bar is on the low end. If I tap it hard, it goes on the high end. So it actually works pretty good to show you the velocity. Same thing with the keys. Soft hit, little velocity, little bit on the display bar. The harder I hit, the bigger the bar gets, because it'll go up from 0 to 127. Yep. It counts 0 to 127 to show the actual 128 steps in the MIDI protocol for a velocity. So, really neat that way. Then you've got some sliders over here. These have a nice feel. They got a little of a sort of a fluid resistance to them, which is nice. So, decent keyboard layout, 8 drum pads. The controls on here, the pads are solid. They're silicone rubber, and so they got a nice feel to them. But they're still just a tad bit solid. They don't move quite as much as some drum controller pads would, but they still feel great. So, I give them points there. The transport controls on here, the loop, rewind, fast forward, stop, play, record, allow you to work with your DAW computer, but they have a little bit more of a throw. When you push it, you can feel a bounce down, and it'll bottom out, and you can feel a little soft rubbery click to it. You don't hear the click, but you can feel it's the momentary switch underneath. So it has a nice luxurious feel. So, and the pads are just a little bit stiffer. The keys themselves, they're just spring-loaded keys or synth-weighted or non-weighted keys. But nonetheless, good feel, good response. You get the full nuance of the keys as well, as far as hitting them and getting a soft response, medium, hard, everywhere in between, because as I mentioned earlier about the window, you get 0 to 128 steps, increments with the keyboard. So it's fully MIDI compliant, which is great. And then you got your sliders over here. Now, this is your pitch bend. And as you can see from the window, even though it's a little small, when I come down, it moves down. Because if I come over here, I'll use my thumb. You can see the lights go along the edge. Those LED lights let you know where you are and on your pitch bend. And if I let it go, even though it's fully down, it snaps right back to the middle. Just like a real spring-loaded, good old-fashioned pitch bend wheel would do. Over here, you can see I can set the modulation and leave it, which is how modulation wheels would work on a synthesizer or a keyboard workstation in the first place. I can set the modulation all the way up. You see it also goes up over here, watch. So you can see you're full on over here. And then you also have your lights over here. So you can see. So if you're up here and you want to get down quick, just hit the bottom one. And there you go. Because you can tap this and leave it wherever you want. It doesn't matter. So, nice. And this is perfectly smooth. It's sort of a plastic kind of a non-sticky surface. So it's your finger slides up and down real great for that. So, and that's the first time I've used it. They often call this a ribbon controller, a ribbon pitch bend, and ribbon modulation. On the original ones, like 20 years ago, it was actually a rubber type fabric like you have on your drum keys and the transport keys. Now they got smart with it. Now it's just a slippery plastic feel to it. It's slippery like Teflon, but it works great. And it holds where it's supposed to. And lets off where it's supposed to. So that works great. You can also program these pads and other features of the keyboard as well using the display window right here. And you go into control mode over here. And I'll show you how to do that in a little bit. But you can literally program these pads to set up some drums or samples and loops and things like that from the front panel. You also have software that you can download from Donner, and you can set everything up with the software as well. So you have two ways to do it. So overall, for a short review, I give this unit, even though usually, because this is an Amazon review basically, you give it a 4 or you give it a 5. I gotta knock it back half a point from 5. And the only reason why I'm doing that is because this Donner, like a lot of MIDI controllers, this is not the only one or the first one to do it. You cannot set these pads up and the keyboard up and hear your DAW software. So if I was wanting to set this up with a kick drum, I have to actually go in, edit it, to set it up for the kick drum MIDI note number, and then lock it in using the keyboard controls here. And you got an enter key way over here and an exit key. But I lock it in first. Once I got it locked in, where the drum pad would be, the kick drum will be here, then I can hear it in the DAW. And that's using the front control panel. Now, if I was using the software, I would set everything up first. Then once I got everything saved and dumped from the control, from the software into the keyboard, then turn these, exit out of the software, and then I can hear my DAW firing the sounds that are coming from the keyboard. That's the only drawback. That's why I give it 4.5 stars instead of 5. It's just because they had a little quibble, because I have worked with a couple pieces of gear that when you edit the controls, you can listen to your DAW in real time. So you don't have to have control numbers, MIDI note number, charts, or anything like that. Now, with that being said, if you have your software and you got a drum kit set up in your DAW that you want to use, and it will let you set pads for your drum kit graphically on the screen without having to go in and edit these. You can just take them as they are and literally force feed whatever MIDI note number this is to the sound that you want in your DAW. Great, because for instance, I use Mixcraft, and if I want to set up the sampler in there, well, I've got, I think it's a 16 or 24 pads. It might be 32. It's quite a few. Actually, I think it is 32. I can set up a total of 32 pads on the screen in my Mixcraft, and I don't even have to worry about editing these at all. Just hit a pad, see where it shows up on the Mixcraft, and say, well, down to another location. Set the location and the sound, and it doesn't matter what this is on the keyboard. It doesn't matter what the MIDI note number is. As a matter of fact, the MIDI note number right now is CC36. But that's just a quibble because I do have a MIDI drum controller that I can just set the pads one at a time and hear the sounds being triggered in my DAW software as I go. It'll also do it with a standalone drum machine or synthesizer. This one just doesn't have that extra step. That's why I give it 4.5 stars. But as far as you folks who just want to just go off of that information, you're set. 4.5 stars. I recommend this Donner. It works. If you want a mini keyboard, 25 keys is enough for you. You can edit from the front panel or use the software. This Donner will probably get the job done. And the cost of it, well under $100. Well under $100. So you're not going to go wrong by trying this. Keys are spring-loaded, synth-weighted keys. They're not weighted. So just bear that in mind. But other than that, this doggone Rascal works pretty good. So once again, 4.5 stars. 4.5 stars. All right, with that said, I just want to edit a couple of the pads on here to show you what's going to happen with the unit. And I'll just use a generic MIDI note chart. There's one that comes in the owner's manual in the PDF file with the Donner that you can use. You can download that from Donner, and you can use that chart, or you can use a different chart if you need to go. You want to go 128 note wide CC MIDI note numbers. You can download a chart off the internet and go that route if you want to as well. And that's what I did, just to get that little extra level of expanse. But next thing up, let's go ahead and we'll set up a few drum sounds on these pads and then lock them in one at a time just from using the front panel. Because you can do it with the software, but I kind of like a hands-on approach where you can just edit and just use the feedback from the unit itself. So let's do that next. Now right now, I got my Mixcraft software up, and so I can hear the sounds, and you can too. But let's see. Let's go pad bank. That's pad bank B. I'm gonna go one more. Let's go pad bank C. All right, we'll go pad bank C. And you notice with every pad bank change, there's A, there's B, there's C. Let's go and see, and we'll just monkey around and edit pad bank C. So, how do we do that? If you look on page 8 of the Donner instruction manual, it will show you how to enter into the edit mode so that you can edit, in this case, the drum pads, but you can do it with the sliders and the keyboard itself. It doesn't matter. It's still edit mode. Edit mode is right here. You get transpose plus and octave plus on this side. This side has transpose minus, octave minus on this side, or negative, whichever you prefer. So we're going to hit the 2 plus or positive buttons right here. Notice how everything's flashing over here? We are now at the first step. It says, please choose CC, CN, mode, curve, attack, or scale. So we want to do a CC because we want to change MIDI note numbers. There. Now the screen says, edit CC, please choose pad, knob, or slider. So, okay, we got pad 1 selected. So now, if you notice, you don't hear any drum sounds. This is why I gave it a 4.5 stars, instead of 5. It's just because of this little quibble right here. So now, if I want to set this up for a MIDI drum sound, how do I do that? Well, I can bring up a MIDI chart, and I got a MIDI note chart, which works for drum sounds real good. And from that chart, it gives you the general MIDI layout by the number for each drum sound. So let's say I was setting this up. We'll just go ahead and set this up, pad bank C, as the drum kit. So I want to pick, I can do, well, let's try 35. I'll just use my wheel over here. K1. And I can go through and find number 35. I know you can't see that on the screen, but there, I got number 35 selected using my chart. All right, we got number 35 selected. Hopefully there's actually a sound there. See, that's the thing about it. You're flying blind. I know there's a, according to the general spec, there's a number there, but does my Mixcraft actually have a kick drum sound there? But I got number 35 selected for the pad. All I have to do now is hit enter. There, I hit enter. So now let's check. Yep, we got a kick drum. But let's say I don't want to use that kick drum. I can go back in. CC, pick the pad. Now, let me get my note. I'll go 36. There. Hit the last key over here for enter. And you see all the lights go back. Yeah. A little bit more lively with that drum kit. So we got that set. Let's keep going. Octave and transpose. CC. Check my chart. Let's go with acoustic snare. That should be a number 38. So I'm going to pick that pad right there. And then I'm going to go scroll down on my K1 to 38. Hit the enter key. There. Now, let's check it. There. We did it. So it's just that easy to do it, but you're still tethered to a MIDI chart of some sort. You got to know what keys you are. If your software will bring up the map of all your keys, great. That would save you a lot of time and trouble, because then you're actually seeing the numbers as they are, which is great. If it doesn't, then you need to use a MIDI map. So that's my big quibble. I mean, it wasn't hard. I mean, I'll do it one more time just for the sake of argument. Press both buttons, octave and transpose, plus hit the key, choose a pad, take a quick peek at my chart. I think I'll put just for the heck of it, I think I'll put a goggle there. Number 68. Let me spin my K1 wheel. There. Hit the enter key. Boom. It's just that simple. So it isn't major surgery to do it, and you're doing it without any software. But you could probably go a little bit more rapidly if you brought up the MIDI software with a MIDI map, so that you know which sounds are going to be on which MIDI note number for your software, and then you could just program them in one after the other quicker. But if you're not in front of a computer, you actually maybe you're daisy chaining this in through the USB into your computer and then back out through a USB to a standalone keyboard, then you might have a little bit different situation set up. And the tactile feel on the front might come in handier doing it that way because it keeps you a little bit live after every edit. But either way, you can program this without much trouble. I won't do faders and all that because basically speaking, the instructions make it so easy. And like I say, once you hit the edit here, you just select whatever you want to do here, scaling, attack, velocity curve mode, channel number, MIDI channel number, or CC, which lets you set up your different notes, and you go. Don't need to do anything. Hit the key over here to exit out, and you're done. So, super simple setups with the software or from the front panel using this nifty little screen. You're good to go. I like it. It's just the one quibble that you can't audition as you edit as far as auditioning the sounds before you lock them in. That's the only drawback. But this is still a 4.5 machine. And if that tiny little editing quibble doesn't mean anything to you, then it's a 5 right off the bat. But it works. I like it. And so I recommend it. If you want to get something that costs less, way under $100, the Donner MK25 Pro is probably going to be a good bet for you. The Donner MK25 Pro. And I give it 4.5 stars.